Thanks for joining me at Evolutionary Energy Arts once again. We have Benjamin Netanyahu under fire. And actually, this is something Benjamin Fulford has been talking about for months now, saying that Netanyahu is going to be taken out and he's going to be removed from office or even assassinated or taken out by the alliance, the white hats, as part of the cabal purge. And Fulford's always calling him a Satanist and just an atrocious human being, which I personally kind of think he is pretty atrocious. He definitely does not feel like a good guy. And now there's allegations about him taking bribes, and this could be just something to get him out. Because we've seen how he is, and I'm sure well, I shouldn't say I'm sure, but there could be much worse things, and we know how cold and callous and ruthless he is, just insanely ruthless. And it looks like he's facing an uphill battle here. So supposedly he took bribes, cigars and thousands of dollars, and really has been doing this for a long time. So they also say the editor is going to face charges, the editor of a Israeli newspaper, because what he was doing was helping people in ways that he shouldn't help people, using his power in order to help people advance in certain situations, and just things that you're not supposed to do ethically or morally in a political position like he's in, of power. So they claim that he received gifts worth at least 1 million shekels from Hollywood mogul Arnon Milchan and other supporters. The gifts included champagne, cigars, in exchange for getting Mr. Milchan a U.S. visa. It's it's the old greasing each other's palm thing. There's more to it than what we're hearing, I think, for sure. There's way more to it. And this is part of the cabal purge, for sure. And so it's so fascinating that it's like now the things we hear from some of these sources that most of us weren't too trusting in, they come true in just a matter of weeks or a month or two at most, and boom, what they said is happening. We're seeing it time after time again now. And so it's really their hit rate is increasing, especially Benjamin Fulford's. A couple of the subs said, well, he's always been pretty accurate, but some of the stuff he said, from a couple of years back, it's starting to happen now, but it didn't happen back then in the time frame that he was thinking or he had heard. But now, these things are coming through. So Benjamin Netanyahu in deep doo-doo, and we have the Iranian-U.S. crisis going on. Tehran hits back at Washington over demands military withdrawal from Syria. So of course Israel wants Iran to withdraw from Syria, and of course the U.S. will back Israel in every case, except for when Barack Obama was in office, then it wasn't necessarily a given, but otherwise it's been a given for pretty much the whole time I've been alive. It's just an automatic thing. And so the Iranians are demanding that we leave, and Tehran says, no, you shall leave. And in actuality, if Assad is controlled, no matter if Assad is a good guy, a bad guy, whatever he is, If he's in control, it's his country. He didn't invite the U.S. there, so the U.S. does not have an invite there, and that's just the bottom line. It would be, kind of like us asking the Russians to leave the UK or something. It's just one of those things where the Syrian government doesn't want the U.S. there. We're just there because we're the most powerful military in the world, and we just assert our will everywhere, and that's why the U.S. is there. And it's not even asserting our will, it's really asserting the will of the military-industrial complex and the cabal. And while the cabal appears to be getting pummeled and losing their power, the military-industrial complex is in full control. And it feels like they are completely, behind President Trump, as we could tell by the biggest military budget in history. So, and this amazing need to increase our military spending when we already outspend the next 8 countries combined. How do you think we need to spend more on the military? Are you spending it in case of alien invasion? Then be honest with us, because otherwise, for me, cut it into a tenth of what it is. Now, China, improving their technology, they shot down another missile in space, launching basically what's the equivalent of a hypersonic bullet hitting another hypersonic bullet. So their technology is getting better. They are spending more on their military, but they're still like a quarter of what the U.S. is as far as the amount of money spent. They still have not even a 20th of what we do as far as a nuclear arsenal. They do have the largest manpower in the world as far as, fielding an army, a military. But they still have a long way to go, but they are increasing their technology. And, that's where some of the balance of power is starting to shift, even despite the incredible spending by the U.S. However, I suspect that there are incredible weapons that are kept secret that the U.S. has that are just going to be mind-blowing. I had a very good friend back in I think it was like maybe around 91. He had just gotten out of the military, and he was stationed in Arizona and New Mexico in the desert, and he was telling me about these tests they were doing on lasers that would just blast through the side of a mountain like nothing. And that was, over 20-something years ago. So the technology is incredible now. We had that type of laser technology 27 years ago or so. And so, the technology we have now is just mind-blowing. And then there's those that say that, in the reality, Russia, China, U.S., we're all on the same team. It's just an illusion. It's just done to, basically keep us separated down here, keep the masses in fear, keep the masses under control. And in reality, this is all just a big show. China's high-speed trains taking on more passengers in Chinese New Year massive migration. And, they really are fielding a lot of cool tech. They're still such a poor country, and so much of the country, when you get out into the countryside and stuff, you're talking abject poverty. But they are making leaps and bounds in technology, and they are, increasing the technology in the cities. And of course, we're not talking about the ghost cities that they have just in case they have to vacate people during the ice age that is coming. The UK is trying to grab attention with the South China Sea mission, says a Chinese state-owned newspaper. So Britain's defense ministry is trying to justify its existence and grab attention with a planned mission by a British warship to the disputed South China Sea next month. So, just basically a little middle finger in the air to China from Great Britain right here over the issues with the South China Sea. So staying the ally of the United States and showing them support by giving China the middle finger. And China and Russia are catching up with military power of the U.S. and the West, say leading defense experts. So now we're going to have to quadruple our spending. You know it. And, they'll make more taxes in order to tax us more. And then they'll give us a tax cut that doesn't really do much, and they'll just say, look, all we did for you. The West no longer has a monopoly on the world-leading defense innovation. China and Russia are challenging the military supremacy of America and its allies, and the West can no longer rely on a strategic advantage it has enjoyed until now, a leading think tank states in an annual report. The Military Balance 2018 report, produced by IISS, International Institute of Strategic Studies, warns that while war between the great powers is not inevitable, Washington, Moscow, and Beijing are now systematically preparing for the possibility of conflict. Well, they've been preparing for conflict forever. Always. It's always been that way. I mean, going back to the 50s, the 40s, as soon as World War II was over, they were preparing for conflict. In fact, General Patton said, we might as well go into Moscow now because we're going to have to sooner or later. So why don't you let me go right now? And of course they didn't. It doesn't really have to be that way, but that's the way it has been. So the report details the drive by the Chinese leadership in acquiring and expanding its formidable arsenal. In the air, this includes the Chengdu J-20 combat aircraft entering service in 2020, which means the U.S. losing its monopoly on stealth aircraft. Meanwhile, the PL-15 extended-range air-to-missile system will be equipped with electronically scanned radars, technology few other nations possess. And we do know that there's issues with the fact that so much of our computer chips and stuff come from China that we use, and like our ballistic missiles and stuff. It's that part's kind of scratch your head, but meanwhile, the fastest jets in the air are not really American anymore. They're actually Russian. And so things have changed, but ultimately, if the cabal wasn't put under the pressure they have been, their plan's been to shift to China all along. And we could see with the undercover negotiations going on, according to sources, that an alliance is trying to be worked out that's going to be more equitable as far as the power structure between China, U.S., Russia, UK. And in reality, when you get down to it, the U.S. is still controlled by the UK. That has never really changed. The power just shifted from Sumeria to Rome to England and then the United States. And, as we know from sources talking about it too, the Vatican controls so much. They control so much of the wealth and the power. And so, it's just really one empire that has just, it's just morphed into these other empires in image. But really, it's still the same, going on all the way back to the Tower of Babel and beyond, to when the Anunnaki first got here and set up the whole system that we live in. So, and people are waking up to that. It boggles my mind almost, who actually fully knows and believes about the Anunnaki nowadays. It always surprises me, because getting in conversations with people and start up, and it's like you want to kind of go down a path, but you're like, all right, they're gonna think I'm crazy now. And then you mention it, and they're like, oh yeah, no, I know all about Enlil and Enki, and I know all about that. Yeah, I mean, they're the same people as the Greek gods. It's like, wow, I didn't think that you would think that, Mr. Senator. It's pretty. It's actually pretty funny how many people really are thinking and believing this, that it's getting to be mainstream knowledge now. dozens of Russians were killed in a U.S.-backed Syria attack, and most of those were contractors, private contractors. So they weren't really officially working for the Russian government anymore, but they were Russians and they were killed. So that is something that's, a potential point of, starting a fire. And it's amazing it hasn't happened yet. It really is amazing that we just, this hasn't spiraled out of control in Syria. It's completely somebody throwing a whole bunch of straw in a box and then just leaving a match burning, a quarter of an inch away from it. And you're just waiting for that wind to blow in the wrong direction and poof. How do you stop it? And that's what they want to do, though. I mean, that's what the cabal has been all about doing. They desperately want World War III. That's probably the only way they're going to have to be able to hold on to power. Now, it doesn't mean that things change for the rest of us so much, because you still have the global military industrial complex and you still have the ultimate overlords running the whole show. It's just perhaps we'll have handlers that are a little bit nicer and don't kick the dog and the donkey so much. That's really all we're talking about, is a change in handlers. But it's still the same situation. Our system hasn't really changed. We're still spending all this money on the military. We're still going to fight and kill each other. We're still going to have homeless. We're still going to have poverty. We're not going to really have a new system. We're still going to have taxes. We're still going to be paying more every year to the freaking IRS. So we should be happy that, some of the quote-unquote black hats have been taken out by the white hats. We should be thrilled. It's not a big enough change. It's just a change in handlers. It's just you're changing one prison warden for another one, and you're just hoping this warden is a little bit nicer than the last one. Maybe this one, won't get out the whip so much. Maybe this one won't make you go break rocks as much. Maybe this one won't have the guards make midnight visits and use their batons on your kneecaps. You never know. Maybe this one will be worse. It could be. You just don't know. But that's the only real change going on there. Russia and China are developing destructive space weapons, U.S. intelligence warns. Russia and China can soon possess destructive space weapons that could be used against the U.S. So, they're fanning the flames. They're priming the public. They've been doing this. But now they're going to try to get us terrified about the fact that, they're going to have this massive space defense or offense, weaponry that they could just shoot down their lasers on us or whatever it is. In reality, it's all the freaking rulers. It's not the people. If you go over and talk to the people in China, do they want to see every American dead? No. And you go talk to the people in Russia, do they want all the Americans dead? No. Do they like our leaders? Probably not either. But it's all about the leaders. All about the leaders, and again, it's about control. Iran believes the U.S. spied on it with special lizards. Wow, are they sending out the Draco? Sorry, I'm just in a funny mood today. Desert reptiles such as lizards and chameleons, whose skin drew atomic waves, were used to spying on Iran's nuclear activities. So, wow. Or, do we know they're really lizards, or maybe the little drones that look like lizards? Because that would be that'd be pretty impressive, and I don't doubt that they have it. I don't doubt that there's drones. I mean, I've seen drones that look like dragonflies and things like that. So I wouldn't be surprised at all. And they might have something that small that could shoot a little laser beam out of it and just put a hole right through your heart. Who knows? But it's almost comical, but yet I don't doubt it really at the same time. So it's pretty interesting. So certainly a lot going on right now. As always, let's hope that cooler heads will prevail, and let's hope that they do get Netanyahu out of there. I'd love to see him gone, because truthfully, I don't know about you, but when you look at certain people, you could just see pure evil. And to me, he is pure evil. Just looking at him, he looks like pure evil. He looks like somebody that they would walk up to and say, well, sir, we know where the suspect is. The problem is that he's in a building surrounded by 700 innocent people, and 350 of them are little kids in a nursery. All right, take him out. Just take him out. That's who he hits me as. He wouldn't care. He would, to get the one target he wants, he would take care of just wipe out the whole nursery with 350 little babies in it. That's the type of person he feels like to me. So a world without him in it and running Israel sounds like an improvement. I don't know if you guys agree. As always, thumbs up please, and help support the channel. I truly appreciate you guys, and I love hearing your comments. Let me know what you think about all this, what's happening, where are we heading, what is going on here. And as always, share, and if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe for more updates. Thank you all so much, and take care.